first of all, can I get some confirmation? I've heard some rumors since I started at One Soccer. Did Kurt really watch games with his headphones on so that other members of the media wouldn't come up and talk to him during the game? Or can you confirm or deny?
It's offensive to me because I sat right next to him and he sat next to a wall on the other side. So I'm particularly offended. But yeah, he did.
And they weren't like these headphones either. They were like huge.
And he would like do his like pregame pump up when he listened to Kygo.
Yeah.
Kygo and Selena Gomez for a while. That was like a real thing.
Well, when you're producing the kind of quality content that I'm producing, everybody should, follow suit and potentially listen to Kygo themselves.
Yeah, it was like a big Kygo season the last season that Kurt was around, for sure.
And yet you still agreed to come onto the One Soccer panel after all that. You are a bigger person than... Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's medal worthy. Okay, let's quickly, we could do a deep dive, but let's just do a quick take. Obviously MLS on hold as well, but what is the state of TFC right now, assuming they will eventually get onto a normal schedule or some kind of schedule that makes sense for everyone? What's realistic for them in their current state? And I guess we'll give Laura the first word because Kurt Nolly just had a 5-minute monologue on Canada men's.
I prepared that, by the way. I practiced in the mirror this morning.
I don't doubt that.
We
couldn't tell.
Don't doubt that.
That was cool. I still wouldn't bet against this team. I don't know. I haven't been around them as much as before, but I ultimately think that these players still know how to win. I think it's their last season of this group. I'm concerned about next year, how they're transitioning their young players. I don't necessarily know that they've done that very well. But health being the number one priority for these guys, as long as they can stay healthy, I still think that they can win.
Yeah, they can. I mean, yeah, they can definitely win. Yeah,
and I think it's great great for TFC in some ways. Well, nothing's great. Coronavirus is not great for anybody, but I think having Michael Bradley in the midfield is paramount still. I am not on the Liam Fraser train like some people are, and I definitely think that we need to that team needs to have Michael Bradley to win, and if they have a little bit of time where he gets to recover, so he's missing fewer games, I think that'll be huge for them. Now, how many games he's going to be able to play after having surgery, we'll see, but I think that could be huge.
Just for those keeping score at home, this is our third One Soccer Hangout, and now 2 of the 3 shows we have made the argument that coronavirus is a good thing.
Yeah.
Okay, Kurt, or Ollie,
sure.
no, go ahead.
I'm sure everybody's reasonable out there won't hold that against us. In terms of where TFC is today, we're 2 games into the season, similar team to last year. For me, it's maybe about, the window right now. It's a win now team. Are we a few years away from seeing the club really, really regress, just given the age of some of the players and maybe other players, maybe a Marquis Delgado wanting to move on? Not a ton of, young players coming through. So that's the most interesting storyline for me right now. And I was also saying it 2 years ago, so maybe I'm premature still, but just, it's a win now team, and what happens in a year or 2 years from now when things definitely have to change in terms of the big signings and people become, well into their 30s.
I mean, what TFC has done really well, Kurt, because I think that when you were having that conversation 2 years ago about whether or not it's going to start regressing, TFC's done a really good job of bringing people in. And when you can spend the money that they can spend, they do a really good job of their team selection. Now, that part of the interesting thing for me is that they did that under a different GM largely. So how will Ali Curtis be able to pick up where Beds left off is definitely going to be a topic of conversation going forward. But I mean, they've managed to not have to rebuild, which is a really impressive thing for any sports organization.
Yeah, they keep extending that window, but the interesting thing for me is going to be how much they're willing to spend when that finally does come to an end. Are they going to be willing to be in Atlanta, who are paying $10 million to bring in, a young player who's going to go on to Europe and one of the big leagues over there? Mm-hmm. Or are they going to suddenly, maybe start cutting back a little bit more, and that would be interesting to see.
We've already seen, the Pablo Piatti situation, right?
They go for a cheaper older player instead of maybe spending a bit more on an Almiron.
If that doesn't come good, and you get a few more of those kind of deals and signings, that's how you begin to, deteriorate as a roster. So.
I think it's a really good point. And the franchise, to me, that sort of constant rebuild on the fly reminds me of is the Pittsburgh Penguins in the NHL, where they're just trying to prolong Crosby and Malkin as long as they can. So every time you think it might be it, they still find a way to be one of the more competitive teams. So